Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. What is up? It's got a lot to get into, but I want to remind you guys, well, first of all, if you're watching this, obviously smash the like button and make sure to comment. It'll help us in the algorithm, which we all know is stacked against us. And also make sure you're subscribed. Hey, while I'm telling you what to do, I'd also like to remind you guys to go to saramerch.com. You can support your local podcaster by going to saramerch.com and getting you some support your local Ice Raids merch, along with, we've got a ton of stuff. What else? There we go. We got MAHA Moms Club, which is very fitting for today's show with my next guest. You're gonna love what you hear from him. But you got to be ready for it by going to saramerch.com and getting you a MAHA Moms Club shirt. And we've got some I Don't Really Care Margaret stuff as well. We've got a lot of fun stuff over there is what I'm saying. So saramerch.com, make sure that you go there. So there is, I'm trying to think of most unlikable rhinos in Congress right now. And up there pretty high on the list is Dan Crenshaw. What a disappointment that man has turned out to be to the state of Texas. Not as much of a disappointment as John Cornyn. I just would like to set the record straight. But a pretty big disappointment in Dan Crenshaw here from the state of Texas. And yesterday evening, this story went bonkers crazy over on X that there was a reporter of GB News, Great Britain News, Stephen Edgington, and he was interviewing Dan Crenshaw. And he was asking several different questions, which I want to get into one of them, which is, why are you such a neocon? But he tweeted out this post of the interview. And he said, after our interview, I asked Dan Crenshaw if he had ever met Tucker Carlson, who they referenced in the video. He said that Dan Crenshaw said, I would kill him if I saw him. I laughed it off. He said, no, seriously, I would kill him. Watch my interview below where I asked if he is a neocon. Now, of course, he was asked about all of the aid that Dan Crenshaw was happy to send over to Ukraine. I mean, that's your money that you worked hard for, that you then have to sign away to the federal government, and they ship it off to Ukraine in some cute little money laundering scheme. But this is what Dan Crenshaw had to say about that.
Just coming back to this $100 billion to Ukraine, I know that people like Tucker Carlson would make the argument that there's a real opportunity cost there. You know, we could have spent that money on the border or fixing, issues in America. Yeah. What do you make of that argument that all this money could have been spent to help Americans and not Ukrainians?
Well, you can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. We spend 75-80% of our budget on a welfare state in America, on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. I would love to ask Tucker what he thinks that $100 billion should be spent on, and if he would vote for it as a conservative. Tucker doesn't know what he's talking about. Tucker likes to visit Moscow and talk about how great the grocery stores are. So I don't really take his advice very seriously.
We can walk and chew gum at the same time. It's just that our national debt is like $36 trillion. And let's see, I'm literally on the debt clock right now. Debt per taxpayer, $323,000 per taxpayer. That doesn't sound like walking and chewing gum at the same time. That sounds like something is very, very wrong. And so the idea that, well, we're going to spend the $100 billion anyway, so we could just ship it off to Ukraine. What's Tucker got to say about that? He's too busy being a Putin puppet. All the dumb talking points that you would expect. And so in regard to the tweet, well, he said he would kill Tucker Carlson. That's kind of a big deal. You had Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who asked Dan Crenshaw about it on X. Did you threaten to kill my friend Tucker Carlson? Now, Dan Crenshaw, in his, usual passive-aggressive way, responded, LOL, no. There's just one small problem with that. He may have thought, well, my mic was removed, so nobody picked it up. But his interviewer's mic was not removed and still hot. And he came in with receipts. Here is, of course, the moment Dan Crenshaw didn't realize was caught on camera. Watch.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot. If I ever meet him, I'll
if I ever meet him, I'll effing kill him. Now, this post was later deleted, obviously not before it was saved and reposted by multiple different people. So what I'd like to know, and I've inquired with this reporter, why was the post deleted? Did you decide to delete it? Did your company decide to delete it? Did Dan Crenshaw threaten you guys to delete it? I don't know. I'd like to find that out because he certainly was quick to post the receipts. But be that as it may, once this post was out there and Dan Crenshaw was exposed as a liar, the liar that he is, the disgusting human being that he is, Tucker Carlson responded to it. He said, "Why don't you come sit for an interview and we'll see how you do. I'll send you my address, Dan." And I have to imagine that Dan Crenshaw is not going to take him up on this. But I mean, listen. We can talk about Democrats all damn day. We can talk about how terrible they are. We can talk about how none of their policies are well thought out. We can talk about how detrimental they are to the country all day long. But we shouldn't be talking about that until we are willing to talk about how much we need to clean house. We need to clean house. And Dan Crenshaw is at the top of the damn list. Dan Crenshaw has betrayed this country to maximum levels. Dan Crenshaw has voted to send millions upon millions upon millions of your hard-earned dollars to a foreign country. Dan Crenshaw has no problem getting us involved in foreign problems. Dan Crenshaw, and this is what really gets me, is that you would expect that these people with military backgrounds, you would expect that these veterans who know what it's like to be in combat would really understand we don't want to send our young sons and daughters, in some cases, to go fight a war that they don't need to be fighting. We don't want to get the United States involved in something that could lead to our sons and daughters dying when we don't even have to get involved in the first place. And yet somehow we get these veterans that come out and do the exact opposite. And so you see Dan Crenshaw constantly betray the American people, constantly betray Texans who voted for him. And we just need to be willing to call this out. And if we can't get this right in Dan Crenshaw's next election, it's just like John Cornyn. I don't know what to say about the state of Texas and the people who keep electing him. I mean, Dan Crenshaw, who claims that he is not pro any sort of gun control, but he also says that he thinks that we should expand background checks for gun sales for those between the ages of 18 to 21. I mean, that's a little bit of a form of gun control, don't you think, Dan? So the list goes on of what he is okay with, what he has proposed. No problem, spending your hard-earned money during COVID, but shutting you down. So it's like, well, hold on. We're going to shut you down. We're not going to let you work. And then, but don't worry. We're going to take your tax money and we're going to pay you? We're going to give you a stipend of your own money that we're also preventing you from earning because we're shutting you down. Dan Crenshaw was fine with that too. So Dan Crenshaw, a betrayer of this country, wants to go sit in front of a UK reporter and say, "I'll kill Tucker Carlson." This guy is one of the most embarrassing things to come out of Texas in quite a while. And I am telling you, whoever is within the sound of my voice, who knows someone who wants to primary him, who is primarying him, please contact me. I am all in with getting this garbage human being out of Congress because let's see if he takes Tucker Carlson up on that. Let's see. Spoiler alert, he won't, because he's all talk. All right. Okay, I've got more to come. I cannot wait for you to hear from my next guest in regards to how serious the MAHA movement really is. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Jase Medical. So Jase Medical, We talk about emergency food preparation all the time, but people don't think about emergency medication. But the fact of the matter is, one of the most important tools that you can have in your preparedness kit is the JACE case. So the JACE case is a personalized emergency kit that contains essential antibiotics and medications that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. And so it's for emergency use. You hope that you don't need it, but if you do, it's there. That's the whole point of being prepared. Get it before you need it so that you aren't up S Creek. You're welcome, editors. When you are in an emergency, you can go to jace.com, customize it however you'd like. They've got ivermectin as an add-on. They've got an EpiPen as an add-on. So customize it to fit your family's needs. And you can enter promo code Sara at checkout for a discount on your order. You can also enter their giveaway as well. So you're going to want to go do that. Okay. That's jase.com, promo code Sara. So I find myself saying so often on this show since January 20th, I was going to say since November, but I guess since January 20th, that every day feels a little bit more like Christmas. Like there are these little breadcrumbs that are being dropped, that it's just like, wow, this is actually all really happening. Everything is aligning. And we really are poised to make great progress in this country on many different avenues, one of which, of course, is the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again. And those of you who are longtime watchers of the show know that I have been calling out Big Pharma and, the FDA and the CDC for all of their evil doings for quite a while now. Now we have RFK officially sworn in. And I wanted to bring on someone who I've been following for a very long time, who I just greatly admire. He is the CEO of MAHA Action and MAHA Alliance. This is Del Bigtree back on the show. Thank you for being here, Del.
Sara, thank you for having me, and thank you for being courageous for all these years, pushing back against pharma, the most powerful lobby in this country. That's not easy to do, and you're one of the few that has stood in there, and look where we're at.
Yeah.
I mean, we did it. We've achieved what they thought was impossible.
I cannot believe it. I'm being serious when I say every day I wake up and I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe we are really here. If someone would have asked me 10 years ago, hey, do you think that Donald Trump in his second term will actually bring RFK Jr. in as the Secretary of HHS? I'd be like, you're nuts. You're seriously nuts. And yet here we are. And I'm really, really excited about the future. Del, I know that you worked very closely with RFK as his communications director for his campaign, and I listened to your speech after he was sworn in, and it's just loved it, by the way. But I want to get your thoughts first on just today. I read an article that, we of course had Donald Trump sign the executive order on withdrawing the United States from the WHO, the World Health Organization, and it directed the CDC to cease all communication and collaboration with the WHO. And so now, today, we find out that the CDC is defying Donald Trump's orders, seemingly. They said that they will, with the FDA, be taking part in a vaccine meeting with the World Health Organization this week to analyze global flu data with recommendations issued on the composition of vaccines for the next flu season. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on this latest from the CDC.
Well, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? You recognize now what, President Trump and what Robert Kennedy Jr. are up against. You really have a massive bureaucracy in there that's used to doing things the way that they do it. They are not concerned about the sovereignty of the United States of America. In fact, they're, if you look at the World Health Organization, this is, largely funded by China and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. These are global interests that have been really attacking our borders, almost directly. When you look at all the European nations that are having the same problems with their borders, this infiltration of, undocumented, people coming in, it's all of a part of a plan to sort of dilute the power and strength of each nation. And America still holds strong because we're the only ones that have this incredible Constitution and Bill of Rights. But right now you're watching sort of the last grasp, that like white knuckle death grasp of this, totally corrupt, corporate owned government holding on to relevance. I've said that with COVID. I mean, when you watch them push this vaccine that didn't work, that couldn't stop transmission, pushing non-science, which was 6 foot distancing, which Tony Fauci's now admitted for the Congress had no place in science, masks that we know the science doesn't exist, doesn't work. So all of this has been a part of an agenda. And what they'll scream is, oh, you're anti-science, when the truth is we're finally getting science. The flu shot doesn't work. In fact, multiple studies show that it raises your risk of infection, of upper respiratory infection, more than 4 times, about 4.4 times in a massive Japanese study. And let's be clear, this is the problem with vaccines. It's not flu that you end up being infected with, it's everything else. So it protects against the flu. So they say, what are you talking about? But you are more prone to RSV and norovirus and coronaviruses and everything else. This is the problem that Robert Kennedy Jr. wants to look at. We got to stop looking through a microscope and just having this tiny perspective of what we're doing, because so many of these things have, far-reaching side effects in our own body, in our own future, and all of it needs to be put on the table. Nobody is anti-vaccine. Nobody's anti-drug. We all have moments where we have surgeries. There's moments these things have their place. But if you can't look at the effects of all of these things combined together, including the chemicals in our food, the fluoride in our water, the pollution in our air, the glyphosate on our vegetables, the hormones and, things that are in our meats, all of these things need to be looked at because we are so sick, Sarah. We have the sickest nation in the industrialized world. It's the sickest generation of kids we've ever seen in America. 60% of us have a chronic illness, either a neurological disease or an autoimmune disease. That's up from 12.4% just in the 1980s when I was in high school. So that is the greatest decline in public health we've ever seen. And this CDC and FDA that are pushing back against President Trump's wishes right now are the ones that should be to blame. Everything that's making us sick has got to be an environmental toxin that they have approved in one way or another. They've approved the fluoride, they've approved the pesticides, they've approved the chemicals in our food, and it's all making us sick. And now they're saying we're not going to budge. We're going to try and figure out what vaccines are going to make you healthier. You're making us sick. We're trying to survive this toxic, attack that's coming from our regulatory agencies. Thank God Robert Kennedy Jr. is there, but boy, does he have his work cut out for him.
Yeah, and that was going to be my question to you, Del, is that, you're seeing the CDC already saying, well, actually, we're going to do this anyway. And I would imagine that these agencies are still infested with these deep staters who really, really want to hang on for dear life, who I'm sure have conflicts of interest, who I'm sure oftentimes are financially profiting or otherwise off of being invested in the place where they are. And so does he have a plan for rooting out these people who plan on undermining whatever his directives are?
Yes, he does. But let's make this clear. There's no leadership in there right now. We have not, the Democrats are stalling and pushing down confirmation. We need the head of CDC, Dave Weldon, in there. We need Marty Makary to be the head of the FDA. We need Dr. Mehmet Oz to be confirmed for CMS. Right now, Bobby has no team. There's no leadership over these departments. So they're literally being run by the lobbies, by these special interest groups that have controlled the whole place. So how do you kick out the money changers when they're the only ones in the room right now? So what Bobby's trying to do is really got to get people confirmed. He's got to start building new teams inside of these places. So for all of us, I guess we've got to take a deep breath. It's not like there's going to be some deal with the World Health Organization we won't be able to undo. Sure. You know what Trump's interests are. You know that Bobby's going to support that. Right now, there's a tug of war going on, and it's really unfortunate that they're stalling this way, but we knew this was coming. coming. Bobby knew it was difficult. This isn't a surprise for him, but we've got to start, demanding as citizens. We've got to start calling our representatives and say, I want these confirmations. I want a new health department. I want Robert Kennedy able to do the things that we voted for, that we voted for President Trump. We knew Bobby was with him. I want action, and I want it now. We as the people are what are bringing the power right now. I said very clearly to a bunch of reporters, throughout the election and confirmation period, I said, look, red dye number 3 is finally being taken out of our food after 10 years of knowing it was toxic, knowing it was causing cancer, it was an endocrine disruptor. Why did that take so long, and why is it happening now? It happened actually a couple of weeks before Bobby was even confirmed, but it was all about Bobby. And why was it about Bobby? Because it was about us. What was happening was the FDA and CDC now recognize that the entire United States citizenry is focused on them. It's asking the right questions. Why are there deadly chemicals in our food that in the same company, Kellogg's is making a different product for the rest of the world? These are the questions that are driving pressure. So remember, Bobby's just one person. In many ways, he and President Trump represent what this country stands for, which is of, for, and by the people, not of, for, and by Robert Kennedy Jr. or by Donald Trump. They're trying to hand us the power. But if we just sit back on our Barca loungers waiting for these two guys to try and change the world, we're going to be waiting a long time. It's our pressure. We need to tell every one of our representatives, our senators, our congressmen, our, state representatives, I am going to fire you if you do not start getting things moving the direction that I have voted for. They will listen. They care. They will bring the pressure. So that's what we have to do right now. We got to step up and become a part of this system again.
I totally agree. It's funny, Del, on the topic of red dye number 3, it was just so fascinating. I took kind of a dive into the history of, when it was removed from all products, not just, cosmetics like America did, and then kept it in the food for so long. But I was actually reading that I did a segment on this, that it was the maraschino cherry industry that lobbied to keep it in the foods because they had to make their cherries neon red, I guess, in order to sell them. And they were like, you can't ban it because we need this dye to make our cherries, glow in the dark red. And so that was what kept it in. And it's like, guys, if you don't think that this is happening in all of these other industries with all of these other foods, you're nuts. This is happening. And that's why part of the reason that I'm so excited that RFK is in there and planning on rooting this out. And so I just kind of want to go back to what his agenda is, because, we're talking about the food dye, we're talking about the fluoride, we're talking about any drug, not just vaccines. Let's talk about any drug that might be harming Americans. We should know about that. And so, you look at RFK, you call him Bobby, and I want to call him Bobby with you, but I don't know him. So, okay, all right. I have your permission to call him Bobby.
Yeah, he'll give me a call if he has a problem with it.
Okay, good. So, you look at Bobby, looking at all of these things, and you have all of these lawmakers who are so scared of him looking into it. And it's like, guys, if you weren't cooking the books like you were in, that study that you uncovered, Del, with your documentary Vaxxed, if you guys weren't cooking the books on all of these studies, why are you scared about Bobby coming in and looking at all of these things again and looking at it from a place where he doesn't have a conflict of interest, a place where he doesn't have skin in the game? What are you so scared of? If all of these studies, if all of these experts who have kept us sick for so long are correct, what in the hell do you have to be scared of him coming in and maybe just confirming what you guys claim is the truth?
It's absolutely right. And it's something that I've been saying in a lot of the interviews lately. It's the scientific method. We have gotten confused on what science actually is. A safety trial is not a group of scientists setting out to prove that a product is safe. That is not how a safety trial works. A safety trial is a group of science trying to prove that the product is dangerous, to show that if you put it in certain scenarios, we can show you that it's dangerous. And if they fail at that attack, at proving it's dangerous, if they can't do it, now you have a safe product. Think about it. It's like a crash test, right? We don't go out and put balloons and bubbles and bubble wrap and soap and crash it into a bunch of styrofoam. We hit it the weirdest angles. We hit it with giant cement-filled trucks to try and see, can we find a weakness in this car? You know, can you imagine Ford saying, we really don't want to do any more crash tests because it's making our car look bad? That is what's happening with the vaccine program. You should want the most skeptical human being in the world attacking that product with everything they have, like Robert Kennedy Jr., saying, I think there's an angle here. I believe it may be causing some of these issues. Let me see if we can prove it. And if he makes that attempt and fails, he'll be the first one to say, hey, I hit that thing with everything I had, everything that I didn't see in any other studies, and it held up. We don't see vaccines causing autism. We don't see vaccines causing ADD, ADHD. I assure you, he would be the first one. I know this man. You've never met someone more honest in your life, more attached to science being done correctly. He just wants to see those hardcore studies that we deserve. These are products that are given to a day-one-old infant that weighs 5 to 10 pounds. You know, why doesn't, that's why I keep talking about the hepatitis B vaccine. A 5-day safety trial. Grandpa's Viagra deserved 10 years. People that are dying of cancer are waiting for a safety trial to be done before they have the right to try a cancer drug. These are perfectly healthy babies and children, and we're only going to put a 5-day safety trial in there, no long-term. And anyone that says that can't possibly be, you watched it happen with the COVID vaccine. They did it right before your eyes. They rushed it onto the market. They came out with all the bravado in the world, told you it was 95% effective. And now everyone that's had 10 shots of this are getting sick every time COVID comes around. And they're asking, where was the science? Where was the efficacy? This has been done with every single vaccine. You experienced it with COVID. And now Bobby Kennedy is saying enough is enough. We are going to finally do proper safety trials. We're going to do comparative trials. We're going to compare vaccinated to partly vaccinated to unvaccinated and just see, is there a difference at all? We're also going to look at, who knows? Maybe it's if you drank fluoride water, ate, glyphosate covered bread and had a COVID vaccine on the same day, that is creating some sort of weird toxic soup. We have AI now. We can figure out what it is. We don't know. Let me be perfectly clear. Robert Kennedy Jr. is not saying he knows what's causing autism. He's not saying he knows what's causing ADD, ADHD. What he's saying is we know right in the 1980s, all of these issues started going like this, straight up, and they haven't stopped. Something started in the 1980s, and it's all in the same time we had PFAS chemicals enter the market, the fire retardants on our babies' clothing, fluoride, being pushed more and more into our water, the plastics, the bisphenols, and this explosion in the vaccine program on top of glyphosate. All of these things are super toxic elements. What is the combination of them? We finally have someone that says, hey, I'm not owned by any of these companies. I don't care about Bayer Monsanto. I do not care about Moderna or Pfizer. I do not care about Big Ag, Big Food, Coca-Cola, Fritos, Corn Pops. I don't care about any of them. I only care about the American people, and we are going to put all of it under the microscope and see what is going on. Somewhere in here, in these products that have been forced on our people, is something that is making us sick, and we're going to finally figure out what that is. We should be excited, and any representative, any senator, any congressman that you see coming out against that, they just might as well just said, look it, I'm owned by Pfizer, I'm owned by Coca-Cola. They should be wearing it because that's what they're proving to you. Yeah. They don't care about you. If they did, they would be 100% behind Robert Kennedy Jr. right now.
I completely agree, Del. My favorite was Elizabeth Warren, who was like shrieking like a banshee about, what if big pharma companies lose their liability shield? What if they lose their immunity? Great. That sounds awesome. Yeah. That would be the most amazing thing out of all of this, Liz. So it's hilarious to watch them not realizing that they're telling on themselves in their reaction to all of this. Del, I know you're busy. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to ask you, will you come back soon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to have you back on.
We have a message to get out, right? Yeah. The Make America Healthy Again movement is massive. It's now a voting body. You have food interest people that have been, talking about organic food and regenerative farming are now joining with those people that want medical freedom, that don't want to be forced by the government to do anything. We've got to get on top of the chemicals in our food. We've got to do our own work. So we're going to be announcing, we're working on a new food pyramid with MAHA right now so that we can show the world there's a better way to eat. And yes, as it turns out, Captain Captain Crunch does not score higher than a steak. Okay, these are the things that we've got to fix. But the people need that message, and so we're going to be sharing that message. I'll be talking as much as I can with all of the new progress. We're going to build an infrastructure. I want to build a new ecosystem with MAHA. While we're all watching, where are the functional medicine doctors and the regenerative doctors and the nutritionists and the fitness experts that can help us on our health journey and give us ideas that isn't just another drug? There's plenty of doctors out there that aren't reaching for the drugs first. We're going to celebrate them and build an ecosystem and help people find those people to take them on a true health journey. It's health care, not sick care, which is what we've had up until now. So that's a part of what we're going to be doing with MAHA, and I can't wait to come back and talk about our progress as we keep moving forward.
I can't either, Del. That is just inspirational. I can't wipe the smile off my face. I'm so excited. I said at the beginning of the segment, every day is like Christmas. So I appreciate you being the one to deliver the Christmas morning presents on today's episode. Del Bigtree, he is, of course, the CEO of MAHA Action and MAHA Alliance. And when you come back on, Del, I'm going to pull the picture that I took with you all those years ago outside next to the Vaxxed bus, just me as a mom and holding my toddler, which is when, part of, my journey sort of began. But all those years ago, I'm going to try to remember to pull that, and I'm going to show it to you.
All right, I look forward to that. I'm sure I had less gray hair then, but I'm wiser now.
There you go. There you go. Thank you so much, Del. We'll see you soon.
All right, take care.
Take care. Oh, gosh, that's so exciting. Okay, so before we go, I do want to remind you guys that Fearless Army Roll Call 3.0 is coming up. It is going to be May 2nd and 3rd in Nashville, of course. And it's, Police TV host Jason Whitlock. He is hosting this for men. Sorry, women, it's just for men, okay? They want a fellowship with those who share their values, faith, and commitment to Christ. And Tucker Carlson's going to be there along with some other awesome guests. So make sure that you go check it out at fearlessrollcall.com. That is fearlessrollcall.com. Want to welcome to the show. We have Blaze TV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire Matthew Marsden back in the house, along with it's his first time on the show, Tarrant County GOP chair Beau French in the house. And I'm very excited, Beau, to have you, but also excited because this is the same crew right here at this table are going to be on Friday at your gala. Is that how you say it, Matt? You say
Yes, gala. It's a gala.
It's a gala.
It's much better than a gala.
You don't want to say gala.
You don't want to go to a gala.
No, but I do want to go to a gala.
I want to go to a gala.
Very, very badly. So look at all those.
Fancy.
Yeah, it's going to be very fancy. The Make America Great Again gala. And look at all those friendly faces in there. We got Steve Bannon, Jack Posobiec. We've got Cambry. We've got this guy right here. We've got Alex Stein. So we're keeping it all in the family here with several people from Blaze that will be spending the evening with you.
For sure. Lots of local people, but I mean, there's people coming in from all over the country. It's pretty exciting. It's going to be a great event, and we're really pumped about it.
Can people still get tickets?
There are tickets available. Go to maga-gala.org, and
Perfect.
You can still buy a few tickets. Not many, though. They are going quickly.
Hurry up, and come spend some time with us on Friday, especially because that's actually my last day before we go on vacation with the family. And we have a really early flight the next morning. And I'm like, it's fine. I'll get through it. We'll be on vacation, so it's fine. Oh, wait, we're going to Universal in Orlando, so I won't have any relaxation, but it's fine.
Also, we can have a party for my birthday, because it's my birthday next week.
Yeah. So
not that we ever need any excuse.
Well, in honor of your birthday, I'm taking my kids on a trip. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah. I'll figure that out. I don't know.
Keep working on it. Maybe it'll click. So I think you guys will, maybe you already knew this. I didn't. And I found this fascinating when I read this, that, you hear from the mainstream media, from the leftist media, but I repeat myself, that Donald Trump is plummeting in all of the polls. Look at this from Democrats.org. Who the hell reads that? Trump's approval ratings continue to plummet. The New Republic, Trump blows up after onslaught of devastating polls. New York Intelligencer, Trump's approval rating falls and could collapse over inflation. Where was that energy with Joe Biden? Who knows? Reuters, Trump's approval rating slips as Americans worry about the economy. But when you actually look at the numbers, There is a Harris-Harvard poll that this was conducted February 19th through 20th. So just recently, it was like roughly 2,500 registered voters that Trump is enjoying a majority approval at 52% versus 43% disapproval in his first month as president compared to Joe Biden. He's outperforming perception on all key issues: the economy, immigration, foreign affairs, administering the government, handling inflation, reducing the cost of government, returning America to its values. And on top of that, the Democrats are at an 8-year disapproval high. An 8-year high. 64% disapprove of how the Democrats are handling their jobs, and only 36% approve of how they are handling their jobs. 8-year high, or low, however you'd like to look at it. And so I think that there's a little bit of projection going on with the Democrats. They're like, just wait, brace yourselves. Trump's approval ratings are plummeting. No, that's just you guys. That's just you guys. Bo, what say you?
Well, it's clear that they have been polling federal workers, Marxists, blue states, because every Trump voter is literally waking up every day like it's Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's the best thing ever. It's just shocking at the pace at which like progress is being made.
Yeah.
And so I mean, these polls are just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, so it's so funny you say that. I literally just said that when I was talking to Del Bigtree, and I was like, it feels like Christmas. And then he told me that the MAHA Alliance is working on a new food pyramid. You're right. I know. I was like, oh, a new food pyramid, and organizing a system where you can search for providers that are actually interested in like healthcare and not sick care, like MAHA providers, where you can like search and find a MAHA provider near you. And I was just like, okay, it's like Christmas again today. Just hearing that.
Well, no, I mean, you look at these polls and, you look at the headlines, and it's the equivalent of calling someone a Nazi, because you just go, I don't care. I don't care what you say anymore. You can call me a Nazi. You can call me a racist. You can call me this. All it means is that you don't like what I have to say. I have not met one or spoken to one Trump voter that hasn't said to me, this is, not only is it great, it exceeds my expectations. I mean, like yesterday, Dan Bongino becomes the deputy director of the FBI. I'm like, what? Like, it just gets better and better and better.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, of course, Reuters, didn't they get money from...
They sure did.
They did, didn't they?
They sure
got
did.
some money.
Millions of
Nobody
it.
believes the polls. Nobody believes the mainstream media. Nobody believes the polls. So it's just like, whatever. Don't care anymore.
Yeah, well, and to both of your points, we've got our deportations tracker, day 36, 37,660. And they will be adding more to that, because I did see that there was an ICE raid at Colony Ridge here in the state of Texas.
Really?
Yes.
You know what they're not counting in that tracker?
What?
The self-deportations.
Yes.
You've been to a Walmart lately? It's like a ghost town. They are not coming out in public anymore.
I love, my favorite are some of the videos of the people who are being packed into the planes to go fly back to their home country. And they're like, what is your message to people who are thinking about coming? They're like, don't come. You're just going to get sent home.
First time they've heard that message.
Exactly.
4 years of come here, we're going to give you cash, we're going to give you lawyers and cell phones and fancy hotel rooms, and now they're being told don't come.
Yeah. Well, so I did also read on the topic of illegal immigration and deportations. I did also read Sid Miller, the Texas, what is his?
Ag Commissioner.
Ag Commissioner, thank you. He released a statement that there was a Texas rancher that had been killed by an IED that they are saying was left by the cartel on the rancher was on the border, and he was killed by an IED that they say were planted by the cartels. So you'd have to imagine that some of this, designating the cartels as a foreign terrorist organization and having them now, killing Americans on American soil, you have to imagine that that's going to ramp things up quite a bit.
This is an escalation, and we should expect to see more because, look, the cartels, they deal in violence. That's how they exert power. And so we're going to see much more of this before we see less. That's just a fact.
It may get a little bit worse before it gets better. Yeah.
Well, the other thing, again, that we've said multiple times on this show, Bo, is that the majority of the violence has actually been happening to the people that have been coming over the border. And, you know, the compassionate liberals don't think about the rape trees where those poor Mexican girls are coming over and they're getting raped. But I know a friend of mine, and this is going back like 4 or 5 years, knew a farmer on the border, and they were constantly getting shot at. Like they couldn't go onto their land anymore because they get like pot shots at them. So it's not new. I just think that there is going to be more of it because we're strangling their way of earning money. And I think it's, you know, FAFO, because they're going to deploy the boys in there, and you've got guys out there that have got 20 years of combat experience. And I don't say it flippantly because, you know, the cartels were actually trained by the best in the world, which is our guys, actually. That there's a whole thing about that. You can look into it because because they trained the cops, and then the cops actually went and worked for the cartels, and then they eventually took over the cartels. So they're very, very serious people, but they just don't have. They have a lot of money, but they don't have U.S. military kind of money.
Sure.
So, but it's heading for a conflict. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, this is their gravy train that's about to run out, so they're not going to go down without a fight, I'm sure. Okay, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to talk. There's a follow-up to, Joy Reid being fired. We're still so upset about it. It's so sad, and I want to get into that when we return. So yesterday we were talking about Joy Reid, moment of silence for Joy Reid. Okay, that's enough. About her leaving MSNBC. And we discussed, I hadn't seen this yet, Joy Reid crying, talking about, you know, what her show meant to her. I don't know, watch.
My show had value. And that...
What is this old man talking about?
I'm sorry. That what I was doing had value.
Did it?
Had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I say this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And that it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is
Karen's been texting
that in the end,
of course, Karen's been texting her.
Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues.
We begin tonight with what I think is the question. When you are in the midst of a crisis, and specifically a crisis of democracy, how do you resist? When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here.
Oh my gosh.
The first rule is to fight back, to never stop resisting. Do not obey in advance, as Tim Snyder put it. Do not take the knee to throw
No
in a
wonder
Game
no
of
one
Thrones
was
reference.
watching this. It sucks.
Even if it's scary or uncomfortable or inconvenient, just keep saying no.
What is she wearing?
Or finding creative ways to say no in small ways and large.
That looks like their
you
idiot.
Don't always win every battle.
Have you noticed? It looks like
The whole
it says
thing
their idiot.
is
not
about resisting.
The read out. It looks like their idiot.
I still can't make sense of the readout. What are they trying? It's like a play on words, but I can't figure out what it is because it's just so dumb. So of course, you have being on the left, you have Rachel Maddow, or Chris Hayes. I don't know. I get the two confused all the time. But you have Rachel Maddow, who immediately jumps to this must be racism that MSNBC fired my colleague who's so bright and intelligent and good that nobody was watching her program and they had to fire her. And I want to play a little bit of Rachel Maddow on her. Remember, she is also on MSNBC saying these things. Watch.
An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. Personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that, but that's what I think. I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend.
It's almost like hiring based off of diversity, equity, and inclusion is a bad move.
Indefensible, and I do not defend it. It is not news for me to tell you that the press and freedom of the press are under attack in a way that is really.
You didn't know he was an MSNBC
it's a big deal for our
host
country.
now.
It's very visceral for us here.
He's losing money.
This is a difficult time in the news business.
Makes sense.
But it does not need to be this difficult.
Says the woman who makes like $20 million for one podcast a week. Okay, that's cute. I would just say if Rachel Maddow thinks that this was a race thing, she's free to try to give up her primetime seat and offer it to someone that's non-white.
I think she's gone after that. You can't do that to your own company. I mean, that is suicide. And by the way, she could always take $12 million and give it to Joy. And say, but look,
that would be equitable.
She had 59,000 views. That's it. That's all she had. Just to give you some idea about when the show that I was on in the UK had 19 million views every episode. 19 million in a country of 55 million. She's got 59,000 views in a country of 300 million. Right. I mean, it's shockingly bad. I mean, the numbers don't lie. You know,
I'm thinking she's like a case for reparations.
Is she?
Maybe this is what they're talking about. People who are so bad.
Yeah.
So many people that like they have to just take it from other people.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just like, oh, sweetheart, oh, God bless.
It is funny. Why didn't she say? You're right, though. Why didn't she say, do you know what? I'm going to step down and you can take my slot because it's clearly the slot, or it's clear I'm going to give you, you can have my money. The fact of the matter is they pay them, as I said yesterday, they pay them so much money, just like you, Sara Gonzales.
Oh, my gosh. Please stop.
$25 million.
I have not sold my soul to the devil, which means I do not make that money. Nope,
she doesn't care. She doesn't care if she gets fired.
Right.
It's $25 million a year. She only does one show a week. She's made
for her podcast
$100 million. I mean, at least.
Yeah.
So she doesn't care if they can. So what?
I just don't. But I mean, who else do they have? They don't have anybody else that's getting views.
We're going to see more of this, though. And this is why, I mean, I don't call it the mainstream media anymore. It is the legacy media because it is almost dead. It's like literally in its death throes. So, people like you are changing the game, Sara.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I thank you. I appreciate it. A shameless plug for Blaze TV. But also Elon Musk buying X, I think, was really transformative in making sure that there is an independent place, because I mean, we still have to deal with Google trying to censor us on searches and stuff like that. But Elon is like, have at it. What does he say? You are the press now. You are the media now. Yeah. And I really do think that has been really instrumental in putting these people, the legacy media, as you say, on notice that your time is limited, baby, because I can't imagine that Big Pharma is going to pay the amount of money that they've been paying for these ads, because they own you guys, at 59,000 views. I was about to say million, and then I realized it was only 59.
They're talking about banning the ads, which will be devastating to them.
I saw that.
They get so much of their money from those big ads, which are great, when you're sitting there with your kids and like the ED ad comes on. Yeah. It's awesome.
Or like they have to list all the side effects, and they're like, side effects could cause excruciating death. Like everyone.
And you're like, I'll go and get that. By the way, in the UK and in the rest of the world, actually in Europe, you don't have pharma ads. They're not allowed to put them on. So that's one of the things that I came here, I was like, this is really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, it is awkward when you start talking about those things with your kids around.
I know, it is.
You have like 9 kids, so they know.
I don't need it.
They already know what that is.
Okay, really quick. Check out the gala, all right?